The fact that the manuscript is written in a way that nobody else could read it suggests that it is preserving knowledge that someone wanted to keep secret.
For nearly 600 years, a book has sat in libraries and archives, whispering secrets no one could understand. Its pages are filled with elegant script, bizarre illustrations, and a code that has defeated every expert who tried to crack it. But recently, artificial intelligence succeeded where centuries of human brilliance failed.
I believe that we will be able to read these manuscripts because of new technologies, new techniques that our predecessors didn't have access to.
The discovery shook the academic world, but what the AI found wasn't ancient magic or lost prophecy. It was something far more unexpected.
Inside, you'll find instructions for magic spells, incantations, talk of witches, talk of angels and their genealogy, talk of demons.
The world's most mysterious book. The Voynich manuscript is roughly the size of a modern paperback, containing 240 pages of vellum covered in flowing script that resembles no known language. The book showed up in 1912 when an antique dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from a Jesuit college in Italy. Carbon dating later placed its creation somewhere between 1404 and 1438 during the early Renaissance. What makes this manuscript truly bizarre isn't just the undecipherable text, it's the illustrations. Page after page shows strange plants that don't match any known species, naked women bathing in interconnected pools of green liquid, astronomical charts with unfamiliar constellations, and circular diagrams that seem to represent something, but no one knows what. The manuscript is divided into sections based on these illustrations. An herbal section with plant drawings, an astronomical section, a biological section with those strange bathing scenes, a cosmological section with circular diagrams, and a pharmaceutical section showing jars and roots. Every attempt to identify the plants has failed. Every effort to decode the astronomical charts has hit dead ends. The text flows naturally, with consistent patterns suggesting real language rather than random gibberish. There are about 170,000 characters total, using an alphabet of roughly 20 to 30 distinct symbols. Some characters appear frequently, others rarely, following patterns similar to natural languages, but that's where the familiarity ends. Centuries of failed attempts. The manuscript has humiliated some of history's greatest minds. During World War II, American codebreakers who had cracked Japanese and German codes took a swing at the Voynich manuscript during their downtime. They failed completely. William Friedman, the legendary cryptanalyst who broke Purple, the Japanese diplomatic cipher, spent decades obsessing over the manuscript after the war. He organized teams, developed theories, and died without solving it. Professional linguists proposed it might be an unknown natural language, an artificial language, or even an early form of Ukrainian. None of these theories held up under scrutiny. Some suggested it was elaborate nonsense, created by a Renaissance con artist trying to sell a book of supposed ancient wisdom to a wealthy buyer. But statistical analysis of the text showed patterns too complex for random fraud. The letter frequencies, word lengths, and structural patterns matched characteristics of real languages. Computer scientists in the late 20th century threw early algorithms at it, searching for patterns. They found plenty of patterns, but couldn't break through to meaning. Every decade brought new theories, new approaches, and new failures. The manuscript became a sort of academic Mount Everest, a challenge that proved unconquerable despite centuries of technological advancement and scholarly effort. Enter artificial intelligence. Machine learning changed how we approach ancient mysteries. Unlike humans, AI doesn't get tired, doesn't have biases about what it expects to find, and can process millions of pattern combinations in seconds. Starting around 2016, researchers began applying neural networks to historical linguistics and cryptography with surprising success. These systems could learn patterns from vast datasets of known languages, then identify similar patterns in unknown texts. The technology works by training on thousands of examples, until the system learns to recognize deep structural patterns invisible to human analysis. For the Voynich manuscript, researchers used a specific type of AI called a recurrent neural network, designed to handle sequential data like language. They fed the system examples from hundreds of languages, teaching it to recognize how languages encode meaning through structure, syntax, and grammar. The AI could identify what linguists call morphological patterns, the way words are formed and modified within a language system. It could also perform what's called unsupervised learning, finding patterns without being told what to look for. Previous human efforts relied on assumptions about what the manuscript might be. AI approached it with no assumptions at all, simply calculating probabilities and analyzing patterns. The breakthrough came from researchers at the University of Alberta and the University of Southern California, who took a novel approach. Instead of trying to decode the manuscript directly, they asked the AI to identify what language family it most resembled. They tested it against 380 different languages, looking for statistical fingerprints. The breakthrough moment. In 2018, the AI system started producing results that seemed impossible at first. After analyzing the character patterns, word structures, and statistical distributions throughout the manuscript, the algorithm kept pointing toward Hebrew, but not standard Hebrew. The pattern suggested Hebrew written in a highly unusual way, with all the vowels removed and the remaining consonants encrypted through a simple letter substitution system. The researchers, Greg Kondrak and Bradley Hauer, published their findings showing the AI had identified Hebrew as the manuscript's base language with 97% confidence. This was shocking because Hebrew had been considered and rejected many times before by human scholars. What made the AI's discovery different was identifying the specific encoding method. The text appeared to use something called anagramming, where letters in each word were rearranged, combined with the systematic removal of vowels. Medieval Hebrew was often written without vowels, so this part made historical sense. The researchers tested the AI's hypothesis by attempting to decode sections of the manuscript using this method. They developed an algorithm to reverse the process, adding back possible vowels and unscrambling the letter order, then checking if the results matched real Hebrew words. When they ran the first page through this process, recognizable Hebrew words emerged. Terms that translated to farmer, light, air, and fire appeared in the decoded text. The sentence structures began making grammatical sense in Hebrew. The AI had essentially identified a double encryption method. First, remove the vowels following standard Hebrew practice. Second, scramble the remaining consonants using a substitution cipher or anagramming system. Neither encryption alone was particularly sophisticated, but combining them created a code that had stumped experts for 6 centuries. It's Hebrew, sort of. The Hebrew discovery opened new questions while answering others. The AI found that the manuscript's author had created a kind of phonetic Hebrew, writing words as they sounded rather than using standard spelling. This explained why traditional Hebrew experts had missed it. They were looking for properly spelled words, following conventional rules. The system also involved alphagrams, arranging letters in alphabetical order within each word, which created patterns the AI could detect but human eyes overlooked. The decoded passages revealed a clear grammatical structure matching Hebrew syntax, with verbs, nouns, and adjectives appearing in the expected positions. However, only about 80% of the words could be confidently identified as Hebrew. The remaining 20% remained mysterious, possibly representing specialized terminology, names of places or plants, or words from another language mixed in. Medieval Jewish scholars often blended Hebrew with Arabic, Latin, or local languages, especially when writing about medicine or science. The AI's pattern recognition revealed something else interesting. The manuscript showed signs of being written by someone who spoke Hebrew, but might not have been writing in their native dialect. The word choices and some grammatical constructions suggested an author familiar with Hebrew, but approaching it as a learned language rather than a mother tongue. This matched the manuscript's probable origin period, when Hebrew was primarily a liturgical and scholarly language rather than an everyday spoken language in most of Europe. The encoding method itself might have been intentional obscurity rather than serious encryption. During the 15th century, any text on medicine or astronomy might be deliberately obscured to make it seem more mysterious and valuable, or to protect proprietary knowledge from competitors. What the text actually says. Once researchers began decoding passages, the manuscript's content proved surprisingly mundane. No hidden prophecies, no alchemical formulas for turning lead into gold, no secret society manifestos. Instead, the readable sections discuss practical medical knowledge typical of the medieval period. The herbal section describes plants and their medicinal uses, though identifying the actual plants remains difficult because the illustrations don't match real specimens clearly. Many medieval herbals contain stylized or imaginary plant drawings based on descriptions rather than direct observation, so this isn't unusual. The decoded text mentions treatments for common ailments like digestive problems, skin conditions, and women's health issues. The astronomical sections discuss the movement of celestial bodies and appear to contain calendrical information, possibly for timing medical treatments according to astrological principles, which was standard medieval medical practice. The sections with bathing women seem to describe therapeutic bathing practices and possibly gynecological or obstetric information. Medieval medical texts frequently included such topics, and communal bathing for health was common in European and Middle Eastern traditions. Some passages describe the properties of various substances, how to prepare remedies, and when to administer treatments based on the season or lunar cycle. The pharmaceutical section appears to catalog ingredients and preparation methods. What's striking isn't the exotic nature of the content, but its ordinariness. This seems to be a practical medical reference book, possibly compiled by a physician or apothecary. The elaborate illustrations might have served as memory aids or ways to make the manuscript more impressive to potential buyers. The mysterious encoding might simply reflect the author's desire to protect trade secrets or create an aura of ancient wisdom around common medical knowledge. In the medieval period, making your herbal remedies book look mysterious and difficult to read could actually increase its perceived value and authority. The skeptics push back. Not everyone accepted the AI findings as the final word. Several prominent medievalists and linguists raised significant objections to the Hebrew theory. Lisa Fagan Davis, executive director of the Medieval Academy of America, pointed out that while the AI might identify patterns resembling Hebrew, that doesn't prove the manuscript actually is encoded Hebrew. She noted that previous efforts had found patterns matching Latin, Arabic, and various other languages using different methods. The criticism highlighted a fundamental problem with applying AI to historical mysteries. Algorithms can find patterns anywhere, and patterns don't always mean what we think they mean. Some scholars argued the decoded passages were too fragmentary and ambiguous to constitute real translation. The researchers had decoded maybe 10% of the manuscript at most, and even that required making multiple assumptions about vowel placement and letter substitutions. Nicholas Gibbs, an art historian, had proposed an entirely different theory around the same time, suggesting the manuscript was a Latin reference work on women's health, written in abbreviated medical notation common to the 15th century. His theory also had critics, but it represented the ongoing disagreement about the manuscript's nature. Other researchers maintained the statistical hoax theory, arguing the text was sophisticated gibberish created using simple generation rules that would naturally produce language-like patterns without containing actual meaning. A 2019 study suggested the manuscript might be a therapeutic text from a lost Romance language, something between Latin and Italian. The debate reflects a deeper issue in digital humanities. How much should we trust AI analysis of human cultural artifacts? The algorithms are powerful, but they can also see patterns that exist only in the mathematical space of their analysis, not in historical reality. Why this changes everything or doesn't? If the AI translation is correct, the Voynich manuscript transforms from an unsolvable enigma to a curious but ultimately ordinary medical text. This would be simultaneously disappointing and illuminating. Disappointing because we lose the romantic notion of an ancient mystery containing profound secrets. Illuminating because it would tell us something interesting about knowledge transmission in the medieval period, how physicians protected their expertise, and how medical information circulated in encoded form. The Hebrew encoding would suggest Jewish medical practitioners in medieval Europe, which aligns with historical knowledge. Jewish physicians were prominent in medieval medicine, often serving in royal courts and maintaining medical knowledge that blended Arabic, Greek, and Hebrew sources. An encoded Hebrew medical text from the 15th century would be an unusual but not impossible artifact. However, the manuscript still holds mysteries, even if the language question is settled. Why can't we identify the plants? Why do the astronomical charts not match any known system? Why are the illustrations so strange if this is just a medical reference? Perhaps most importantly, who wrote it and why? The AI breakthrough, if validated, would shift research focus from decoding the text to understanding its content and context, but that's a big if. The skeptics have legitimate points about the limitations of the current translation. Until someone produces a complete, coherent translation of substantial portions of the manuscript that makes consistent historical and linguistic sense, the mystery remains unsolved. What's certain is that AI has opened new approaches to historical puzzles that were previously locked away from modern analysis. Whether the Voynich manuscript ultimately proves to be encoded Hebrew, abbreviated Latin, an unknown language, or elaborate nonsense, the methods used to investigate it are changing how we approach the past. The intersection of medieval mystery and machine learning has given us new insights into a 600-year-old puzzle, even if it hasn't completely solved it. The Voynich manuscript continues to guard its secrets, but those secrets are slowly yielding to technology that would seem like magic to the book's original creator. Perhaps that's the real story here, not what the manuscript says, but how we're learning to read what was meant to stay hidden. The pages continue to whisper, and now, finally, we might be learning their language.